We're living for the moment, now we're one with the world. I can't lose this feeling I get. My heart's in the right place, and so is my soul, yeah. I won't take no excuses for it. I want it, love it, need it, live it. I feel like something's missing when I do not have it. I feel it in my bones, gotta find my space. These emotions on my face, taking a toll, I gotta pay it forward. I'll give it all that I can. No matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take no for an answer. If it don't hurt me, it makes me stronger. Yeah, no what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take it no more. I won't be there. Just leave it to me. I know what I need. You'll find if you see. And if you believe, you live and you breathe, you'll find the key. Lifting me, lifting you. Can't go alone, let's do by two. Doing this together, it's me by you. All through the night, all through the night. This is me, this is you. When we get together, we can all pull through. I don't ever wanna stop this groove. Let's get it right. Take it to the Lord, then take it to the grave. Listen to the wise man, tell me what to say. Listen to your heartbeat like it still bleed. A little bit of hope, yeah, it's what we still need. Say a little prayer for the moment. Give what you got, just go in. Can't hold you back if you own it. Live your life like you chose, and no matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take no for an answer. If it don't hurt me, it makes me stronger. You know what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take it no more. I won't be there. Just leave it to me. I know what I need. You'll find if you see. And if you believe, you live and you breathe, you'll find the key. Know what I need, I know what I need. To find the key.
Chasing love in an empty bar. Pour a drink till I make it past. The midnight hour seems to come and go, but I know. Walk on up with a drink in hand, sipping mixers cause you can. And all the lights begin to switch off. You're chasing the light, pouring on the light, fading out. Chasing chasing the night. Hotel rooms and city squares, champagne bottles, drum and snare. The sights and cities seem to fall away when you stay. Locked in love for a night or two, losing sleep just to get off you. Day to day you wanna stay out, you're chasing the light, holding on for life, feeling the high, chasing the light, chasing the night, chasing the night, chasing the night, holding on for life, feeling the high, chasing the night, chasing the night.
We're living for the moment now, we're one with the world. I can't lose this feeling I get. My heart's in the right place, and so is my soul, yeah. I won't take no excuses for it. Love it, need it, live it. I feel like something's missing when I do not have it. I feel it in my bones, gotta find my space. These emotions on my face, taking a toll, I gotta pay it forward. I'll give it all that I can. No matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take no for an answer. If it don't hurt me, it makes me stronger. Yeah. No what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take it no more. If I won't, I will be there. Just leave it to me. I know what I need. You'll find if you see. And if you believe, you live and you breathe, you'll find the key. Lifting me, lifting you. Can't go alone, let's do by two. Doing this together, it's me by you. All through the night, all through the night. This is me, this is you. When we get together, we can all pull through. I don't ever wanna stop this groove. Let's get it right. Take it to the Lord, then take it to the grave. Listen to the wise man, tell me what to say. Listen to your heartbeat like it still bleed. A little bit of hope, yeah, it's what we still need. Say a little prayer for the moment. Give what you got, just go in. Can't hold you back if you own it. Live your life like a chosen. No matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take no for an answer. If it don't hurt me, it makes me stronger. No matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take it no more. If I won't, I will be there. Just leave it to me. I know what I need. You'll find if you see. And if you believe, you live and you breathe, you'll find the key. Know what I need, I know what I need.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to RCI TV for round one of the RCI Porsche Cup Season 2. One of the most look forward to and anticipated seasons that we've had here at RCI. And of course, my name is Ryan Gill. I will be your lead commentator for tonight, and I have alongside me, and it wouldn't be a Porsche Cup if we didn't have the Porsche fanatic all the way from South Africa. It's Mr. George Smith.
I felt like I needed to make a war cry, but I held back. So excited to be here, Ryan. And of course, Porsche Cup cars. This is the stuff that I signed up for at the beginning of RCI. And like you said, Season 2 coming through. And a little bit of a hint out there. If you guys haven't watched a Porsche Cup series before, well, you're in for a treat, Ryan. This is going to be an absolute blast. And to open things up here at Zolder, of all places, these guys are, it's a difficult car as things stand, and the circuit here definitely going to push them to their limits.
It is definitely a difficult circuit for these little cup cars, isn't it? And, they're proving out there that they've got plenty of skill to show what they're worth, and the Porsche Cup cars, we've seen them a few circuits now, and of course it's going to be interesting to see how they fare at some circuits we haven't really visited before in these Porsche Cup cars. In the first season, we had Laguna Seca, Kyalami, and Zandvoort on the calendar, but of course coming here to Zolder for the first time should be very, very interesting.
The Porsche Cup cars, for those that are wondering, a little bit different to the GT3s, of course, but mainly the fact that they don't have traction control. So a lot of that throttle input has to be controlled out by the driver. Give it a little bit too much, the background comes, and it really does punish you quite severely. So all up to driver's skill coming down. They do have ABS in the Cup cars, so there is the lesser risk of the flat-spotted tires, but the fact that they don't have traction control, I think that's the biggest thing. And the torque in these cars kind of geared differently to what you'd expect out of the standard GT3 car. So for the drivers today, it's all going to be up to who can find themselves in the best space at the best time, because overtaking opportunities are few and far between, and it's really going to be down to pressuring people into making mistakes and seeing where you can take advantage on the circuit.
They definitely are, and at the top of the timing sheets for practice is a very familiar name. At the top, it's Mike Noble, of course, from the FFS Racing team, and more recently they just won the 3 hours of Spa that we had yesterday, which you unfortunately weren't able to attend, George. And I could tell you, we had drama. We definitely had drama in that race. But it was Mike Noble and Andre Franco that came away with the win. And of course, Mike Noble is now here in the Porsche Cup here at RCI. Gergo Panker and Jarkko Torvinen had also signed up for this series, but unfortunately, Jarkko Torvinen and Gergo Panker not present tonight. Gergo Panker having to sign out because he's got to work on stuff for the Imola release and the 2020 DLC coming out on Wednesday.
Completely understandable reason to not be able to come through and have a race. And
he was frustrated by it.
We can sense that he's frustrated, but I think you and I and a lot of the other consumers of ACC content will appreciate the hard work that they're putting into it. So, as you can see, late hours being pulled, Ryan. So, you're stoked for Imola already, but good to see that these guys are pulling time to wind it up and make sure that it's ready for release.
Yeah, it is good to see all the work that Kunos do put into ACC. It is an incredible effort that they do, and of course we thank them for it very, very by 1 second in practice, but of course practice never tells the full story.
A bit of a story here though. Mike Noble,
yes.
I think I honestly, that man is a beast in the Porsche Cup cars. I've seen him come in, I've seen the dance that he throws down, so I'm going to be very interested to see in this season if we have a rival to the likes of Mike Noble. He's a good benchmark driver. I mean, if you're looking for someone to be dominant in a specific series, he's always shown that he knows his way around these cars.
He definitely does, Mike Noble. He's got plenty of experience in difficult cars, and he has got experience in the Porsche Cup as well, to my understanding. And, well, it's going to be interesting to see how he does out here. But here we are then, the first qualifying session of the season. And we're going to be seeing exactly how well they'll hit tonight. But, of course, Mike Noble's not the only big name that we have competing here tonight, George. Of course, we've got Jan Matthias, Bart Matcher, Matt Samuel as well, one of the other FFS racing boys. We've got a couple of South Africans as well, with Jonathan Bentz and Quade Claessens.
So Ryan, we should be back and we should be on the closing side of quali now. 6 minutes left to go. So the last little shootout here for us to continue with. And Mike Noble, of course, up at the top with a 130, almost dead. 006 would be the reading, but as good as dead as can be. And then Bobert will be the driver to be in the chase position to try and chase down pole position. He's 2/10 currently off the pace. And then Alexander Guglia is there in the third podium sitting qualifying space. And he's 3/10 off the pace. So time all round to be found. Almost everybody out on the circuit. Porter has just jumped back to the pits. But 23 drivers lined up here, Ryan, to take, or 25 drivers, should I say, lining up here to try and take a stab at a qualification lap, and 5 minutes left to do so.
Yeah, unfortunately we have missed a bit of qualifying, but we have managed to catch the end. So like you said, Mike Noble leading at the front. We kind of expected him to be leading in qualifying, but look at that though, a lot closer than what we saw in practice between himself and Pascal Bobbert. But we do have a couple of other quick guys in here, of course, as well, before we unfortunately lost connection. We were talking about the fact that we had a few South Africans in here. We had Giacomo Peretti and Alessandro Porter, a couple of the Racing Line Motorsport guys. And on top of that, Bart Matcher, Jesperi Hilakalia, Mikhail Sundstrom. We've got loads of people in here, and our very own Jake Boswell, apparently, as well. So Jake Boswell, one of the staff here, and chief steward, rather, getting involved in the racing as well tonight. So very, very good to see there indeed. But just about 4.5 minutes of qualifying remains. And we'll have to see if the likes of Pascal Bobbert and Alexander Guglia can get up to the likes of Mike Noble. Can they break into the 129s and get one over on the FFS racing driver, who has rather assertively put himself at the top of the timing sheets for both practice and qualifying so far?
Has indeed, Ryan. So going to be interesting to see just how these guys manage to close things up. I think that Zolder, one of those tracks where quali is pretty important to start up towards the front of the order. I think in the Cup cars, it's going to be very interesting. You can see the little board coming out just in a couple of places from drivers making mistakes around the circuit in their quali times, trying to chase down. On board with Bobert at the moment, you get a good feel to see where this Porsche Cup car kind of fits itself. Very sort of light and bobbly would be the feel. The suspension quite a lot looser. You really feel the bodywork kind of roll around in this car. You're looking for a bit of a balance between some stability and still having a bit of that flex in the body. But these cars are a lot of fun to drive, and I think that it takes a specific skill set of drivers to put themselves into a position where they want to take a car like this out for the duration of a Porsche Cup series. It's a difficult car, and you're committing to the Monday night racing side of things. So for these guys, it's going to be a learning curve. They're going to get better as the series progresses. They're going to learn to love or hate the beast that they've partnered up with. And as we see the closing in the quali starting to come through, Bobert stays third on the grid. Does better his time, 1:30.162. Sorry, that's Alexander Guglia that is sitting on a 1:30.162. He's gone a little bit wide out there. That's not going to be where he wants to be, Ryan, to try and top the likes of Noble. 1/10 quicker at the moment, and still looking to find more.
Yeah, Mike Noble always finding time, and as you said, Alexander Guglia moving himself up as well. I just saw someone exit stage right at the second chicane. As I'm currently watching Mike Noble on my end, you guys can see Mikael Sundström in the 899 at the moment, working his way through the final sector at the moment, final couple of corners. And as I see Mikael Sundström not up on his time at the moment, he's going to make his way up towards the timing line. Will Mikael Sundström improve? He will actually improve, but it's not going to move him up the order any. And also, we do have a moment, obviously, just to mention that obviously this is, like George said, championship. We've got a few different tracks on offer for this championship. We're here at Zolder to start the season. We'll be heading to Hungaroring next week, and then followed by the Nürburgring, Zandvoort, Barcelona, and we're finishing the season off at Suzuka. So a big mix of tracks in there, George, and some very technical ones in there indeed. And, you know, this is going to be the kind of calendar that definitely challenges the driver, as Mike Noble has gone quicker. He has broken into the 129s, and he looks like he'll be the only driver to do so. But Ondřej Dedeček has now thrown himself up into P3. And the man that's been tutored by the resident alien, James Parker, starting to show the fruits of that work from the Friday Championship.
Good job indeed from Dedeček to get up towards the front, especially at this phase of quali. Goes for a handful of curb on that exit there. That's going to be costly. Most of the time that you spend with the tires not on the racing surface, generally rule of thumb is time lost. So Dedeček is still going to be trying to find time. He's somehow managed to hold on to the time that he was chasing down with. So up a 10th, coming down into the hairpin. Bit of traffic in front, might be able to use him for a little bit of a tow down the next straightaway before they get into the final chicane. And the braking points here are going to be oh so important. Where can you find that extra 10th over your opponents? You're in equal beasts. And across the final chicane, Dedeček goes, a little bit squiggly on the exit. I think that was the 10th that he was looking for, and he will cross the line, will better his time, 1:30.201, but won't be good enough to better his position. That will also conclude Dedeček's quali time. As you can see, the quali time on the top of the screen has completed, and that means that drivers out on a lap are enabled to finish it off, and that will be their last counting lap. Otherwise, they'll be in the pits. So a lot of drivers out in the pits, a couple of drivers getting those little flag indicators, and drivers still just trying to see if they can get themselves up a little bit. We're trying to find someone that is trying to chase down a positive lap delta. But much yet now for the Connection Loss Racing, number 55. He's going to lose it on the exit, and he's going to be facing in the wrong direction. So I don't think it's going to be the first spin that we see in these cars. Like you said, technicalities are the name of the game going into the Porsche Cup season. The track selected, all going to push the drivers to their limits. I'm really excited. Like you said, the names in the field are probably very familiar to a lot of people that have found themselves out watching our series before. So for us as commentators, always good to see a good mix of drivers, and also some new names that I'm not entirely familiar with. So good to see some new entrants coming through and giving the Porsche Cup, like you said, one of the most popular on-demand series. I mean, as soon as you gave a little hint that that might be available to people, they lunge at that opportunity.
Yeah, they definitely do. The Cup Car Series does bring in a lot of popularity from people, and well, we're going to be able to have a look down the order here. Mike Noble, of course, starting on pole, but he's got Alexander Guglia from the Nearly On Pace team alongside him on the front row of the grid. And you can see the entire order of qualifying there on the timing sheet. And a few drivers out there struggling, has to be said. You know, George, Jake Boswell all the way down in 18th place. And I mean, Jake Boswell, he's no slouch. Definitely deserves to be in the pro class, but maybe struggling with this car. And I think
it's a difficult field to find yourself up towards the top, though. So I mean,
it is.
You gotta sort of account for the skill set that comes out here, and like you said, the pro tier, not a lot separating them. And I feel like in these cars, it's really make or break for consistency. So you might not always have the hot lap ability, but if you've got that consistency, you might be in with a good shot at people that might get caught out by, you know, the unforgiving nature of the Cup Car Series.
Yeah, I mean, these Cup cars, they are temperamentals, be an interesting way of talking about them. Of course, no traction control on these cars. It's one of the things that makes them so difficult. They do have ABS, thankfully. But of course, no TC makes these cars so twitchy, especially in that fated first gear that you've got to be in for a lot of the slow corners.
I find that just skipping first gear entirely just works out. Use the torque of second and eliminate the risk of the murder that can come out from there. But you know, it's an easy mistake to make, and if you do get overexcited being down in first and haven't accounted for it, really can catch you off guard. It's gonna be a good race, Ryan. I'm telling you now. I kind of struggle with as a driver, but for drivers that can find its sort of nuances and get the pace out here, it can be a really rewarding circuit, especially if you nail your braking zones, because you can catch a lot of people off guard there.
Yeah, you definitely can, and we're just going to prepare for a moment. You can see the lovely shots of the Zolder circuit as we prepare for our little grid flyby. And, well, it's going to be a very interesting grid, but of course, we're going to be finding out which one of these drivers will be taking home those illustrious podium points, and of course, who is going to be the first winner of the second season of the Porsche Cup. So, here we are then. We have the grid in front of us, and it's going to be Mike Noble on pole position for the first round of the season. Alongside him, Alexander Guglia with Ondrej Dedicek and Pascal Bobbert lining up on the second row of the grid. Giacomo Peretti from the Racing Line Motorsport boys. He's there on fifth on the grid with Jesperi Hilakalio alongside him. Peter Roche has Panos Karatas alongside him. Mikael Sundström here from Nearly On Pace and RCI lines up in ninth with Andreas Kaifalen leading out the top 10. The rest of the grid is Alessandro Porter, Quade Claessens, Daniele Flores, Matt Samuel, Bart Matcher, Jan Matthias, Dustin Vust, Jake Boswell, Sebastian Luigi Vita, Marcus Stein, Jonathan Bentz, Wojciech Birgus, Stephen Vust, David Gilles, and Matteo Reiter. So the grid all set as we prepare to get underway for the formation lap. 25 cars lining up here in the Pro Split. We do have Silver and Am splits happening as well. And of course, they're not going to be broadcasted, but they will be running their own respective races. A few sign-outs here tonight, George, so we will be expecting some more people later on in the championship. You know, Jarkko Torvinen and Gergo Panka specifically, we'll be expecting to see them from round 2 onwards, but I think it's I think as we get the formation lap underway, it's prediction time, George. It's everyone's favorite game pre-race.
It is everybody's favorite game, and getting myself the spot to be able to choose first is going to be important here because, you know, I'm kind of a Mike Noble fanboy when it comes to Porsche Cup car racing. I said it right at the start. I think it's his championship to really stick out here. So to Mr. Data Check, and luckily for our drivers here, there's only two of us to really risk getting a commentator's curse from.
Well, here we go then. We are ready for the first round of Season 2 of the Porsche Cup. Apologies for some of the stream problems that we've just been experiencing, but we should be back. And we are here live and ready for the first round of the championship. Mike Noble will lead them up towards the line. Alexander Guglia alongside him for the start of the Season 2 of the RCI Porsche Cup, and it's a good start from the likes of Mike Noble as he throws himself into first position, nice and early away from the likes of Alexander Guglia. And we're going to have to see what happens a bit further back. I think Ondrej Dedicek has been jumped by Pascal Bobber, and he has. And that's going to cause a few issues for some of the guys behind. But looking at the track map so far, George, I think everyone's got away to a clean start here.
It has. It looked like turn 1 was not going to be a place of chaos, but a great start coming out from Noble, and it will be Guglia to make the charge down. Just look how many Cup cars are in this shot as they go underneath the Yokohama Bridge and into the braking zone for the first chicane. 3 wide they go. The number 55 and the number 40 go side by side. A little nudge through comes out from the 124 and seems to serve its purpose. They all go through. They still stay side by side, and it will be the likes of Bart Machia facing up against the likes of Andreas Kerfelein in that number 40. So right now, Ryan, it is a fight out in the mid-pack here. This is trying to get yourselves up towards the front of the top 10. The battle for 12th and 13th. Up the inside goes Andreas and sends the move, gets that one done, licks it and sticks it. And it will be Jan Matjes to continue the chase, or sorry, it will be Machia to chase down. Getting a little bit confused with some car numbers in the start as our timing sheet updates. This is Jan Matjes in that number 256 in the Send It Squad Porsche. So Ryan, end of the first lap, it will be Noble leading things away. Guglia, Bobert, Dedicek and Hilakailio round out the top 5, but it really is this battle down in amongst the mid-pack that has really caught our eye, because this is where you got to keep it so nice and tidy. One small mistake, 20 positions disappear.
Yeah, definitely really, really tight down here in the mid-pack, but it's the kind of thing that we expected from the Porsche Cup. A gap already between those in the top 10 and those a bit further back. Some people getting argy-bargy as well. And that's going to be something that the live stewards are going to have to look out for, as we do have live stewards here today to make sure that everyone is behaving themselves, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to have plenty to look at already.
They really are. They're going to just keep their eyes out and make sure that drivers are held accountable if they are in the need of getting one of those timed penalties. A 60-minute race is the name of the game. Of course, they do have one mandatory stop to serve out. So be prepared for a couple of pit stop strategies to come out to get talked about as well during the duration of the series, because it is something that drivers need to account for when you are caught up in traffic. Sometimes, Jan Matjes, beautiful little save of a drift out of the final chicane, and this is where these cars really start to highlight themselves. You push it to a limit, you find the edges of traction, and you then have to recover it if you go beyond it. Jan Matjes having to do just that. And as we said before, it's a long race coming out. Everybody's starting to just settle out in the mid-pack and get themselves into a comfy position.
So, as everything starts to calm down just slightly, I say that, and a couple of people off in the background as well, but there doesn't seem, well, there has been a car that has definitely had to go for a pit stop very, very early. Sebastian Luigi Vita has unfortunately been forced to go into the pit lane early. Maybe that's a strategy call, maybe it's down to damage. Not entirely sure, but something that is fairly obvious is the fact that Mike Noble and Alexander Guglia have cleared off into the distance. 3.5-second gap that those two have over the third place sitter of Pascal Bobbert, who's got Ondřić Dedicek and Jesperi Hilakallio chasing him down behind.
So Pascal Bobbert just going to find himself in a decent position at the moment. He doesn't quite have the pressure of Dedicek on him, and it will be Hilakallio to, kind of put the fight up to the number 48 behind the likes of Bobbert. And Bobbert will sort of know this. If he backs the traffic up, he's got the ability to then see it off into the distance, but he doesn't want to risk it. You always put yourself in a bad position by doing so. And just coming out into the end of the first sector, you can just see how much Dedicek has pulled away from Hilakallio as they make their way down towards the first chicane. And Pascal Bobbert doing a good job to just keep a clear, calm head under pressure, finds himself in the potential to find a spot on the podium, but it's early days still. Pit stops to be served, and plenty of racing on the circuit still to happen. Look at how much Dedicek manages to close down onto Bobbert into that second chicane. And I mentioned at the start, Ryan, I think it's down to braking zones where you can really find time here at Zolder. It's a very tight, nippy circuit. Doesn't really have the flow that a lot of circuits on the calendar have. You come to some awkward situations where you really have to find the anchors to slow yourself down. And plenty of chicanes. If you're not good at chicanes, come to Zolder, and chicanes for days.
Yeah, we definitely do have a lot of chicanes here at Zolder, and of course we're going to be seeing plenty of passes into those chicanes as well. But look at this little train here, and it looks like Kapelin trying to go on the inside of Bart Matcher at the moment. Oh no, that's Karata, sorry, not Bart Matcher, but Bart Matcher actually. Speaking of him, he's going to go up the inside of Kapelin. There's going to be a touch between them. That puts the number 40 wide, and that's going to allow Jan Matthias to slip on through.
He was pushing towards getting himself onto the third place of the podium. Andreas Keefelainen in the ERC powered by FSP TUV Rheinland. Number 40. I mean, it's a big name, and I probably destroyed the last part of it, so I apologize for that. But big team name coming out on the bottom of that car. Quade Claessen's in that 1-2-4. He's putting some pressure on to Steven Wust in the number 11. So a good little battle coming out still between a couple of drivers in the field. Both these drivers yet to go in to serve their pit stops. And Quade Claessen's putting a lot of pressure onto Steven Wust where he can. Steven Wust, a very, very skilled driver, has plenty of experience. Would not have been the first time he's had to be defensive against a skilled driver. And he will keep himself ahead of Claessen's at all costs. And this is where the defensive line doesn't always work around. The driver behind starts to get a little bit of insight into where your potential weak points would be. And that's where you see the chase start to go down. So this little battle starting to brew up. Not yet on the fire, so to speak, but certainly being prepared. Wide goes Steven Vust, and it will be the end of what would have been a good battle between them. One small mistake, one braking zone missed, and that's all it takes to make those mistakes out here, Ryan. It's just one step away from the edge, and Zolder, definitely technical track, not a lot of places to make mistakes.
No, not really. Zolder is much of an old school style circuit, isn't it? We talk about these kind of difficult circuits that they don't have much runoff. The walls are ever present. And small mistakes, well, they often lead to big accidents. And Karatas, oh! Someone turned around there. And was that Giacomo Peretti? I think, no, it wasn't Giacomo Peretti. I'm not entirely sure who that was. I think it might have been one of the back markers, actually, that had spun around. And that was a bit of a nervy situation for Peter Roche as he came round the corner, but still managed to navigate it nice and clean. And now looking at Panos Karatas, who's chasing down the likes of Peter Roche. And well, we do have a couple of other penalties coming out. Matt Samuel got a 5-second penalty, didn't he, as well, George? And looking at the stewards report, with which Fabian Schmidberger is behind at the moment, it seems that Matt Samuel has received a 5-second penalty for colliding multiple times with car 323 and... Yes, multiple times with car 323 and gaining an advantage because of it. So, 5-second penalty out for the likes of Matt Samuel, but obviously, you know, these penalties fitting the crime. You know, just getting a bit too rough. We all like some door-to-door action, but a couple of these guys just getting a bit too rough, gaining a couple of places through, you know, a bit of aggressive overtaking. But 5-second penalty, you know, puts them immediately behind whoever they just overtook. So puts them right back where they were. And Panos Karatas kind of struggled to find the breaking point a bit there.
Just a little bit. Needs to go for a little bit of an avoiding maneuver. Going to cost himself some time on that chase towards the likes of Peter Rock. And it's all about the small mistakes and trying to iron them out, trying to find the consistency out here. Not always going to be easy. You can see Jan Matjes in the 256. He's slightly damaged up towards the front end, as is the likes of Porter in front of him. Both of them looking like they're suffering a little bit with some active aero damage on the front end of their GTG Cup cars. Not always a place that you want to find yourself in a race where you've still got 40 minutes on the circuit to go around. But if you can manage to deal with it, it's definitely one of those things that you're weighing up. Is it more costly to go into the pits and repair this? Or, you know, is the time that I'm losing out on circuit kind of negligible and not really going to count towards being worse overall than going in to repair it straight away? So these two drivers, though they are damaged, might find themselves being competitive in their field. But the drivers behind in cars that haven't had the same fates, they're the ones that are going to be looking into this with eager, wide eyes. Onto the rear splitter can we go? As I like to call it, also the flamethrower. The Cup cars do spit some flames. As you can see, the pops and cracks come down. And Matjes getting closer and closer to the back of Porter. Catching a car on Zolder is one thing. Getting a pass done, completely different chapter. And a lot of drivers are going to be exploring that and seeing where they can make the move. Braking zone after braking zone. You see the follow cars pushing the limits, just trying to see where they can get themselves alongside, Ryan.
Yeah, and Jan Matjes, of course, trying to drive with the damage that was inflicted by Keiferlein, I think it was, earlier on in the race. Went into the back of him and pushed him off circuit. Unintentionally, of course. But it seems that Jan Matjes having to live with that. Alessandro Porter, not entirely sure where he's picked up that damage from, but he's definitely been in the wars as well. And like you said, George, these cars not as dependent on the aero as the GT3 cars are, but of course these cars are a bit more dependent on aero than the GT4 cars that we have seen. And as a reminder, we will have a GT4 series up and running this week as well on Wednesday. You can check out the Discord for more information on that. But we sit here with Jan Matthias trying to get past the likes of Alessandro Porter. I kind of get the feeling that these two cars at the moment, with the damage that they've got, they're kind of just gatekeepers for the cars behind right now.
Yeah, I think Zolder, one of the circuits where maybe a little bit of aero damage doesn't really come into effect. You don't have too many long straights for yourself to find that you're lacking that top end. Might find a little bit of mid-corner instability. But, once you start to handle that, the car itself is already a little bit loose, a little bit unstable, stock form. So you've kind of got to used to that point of driving it on the edge of grip levels anyway. So maybe just adapting to it, not going to be the hardest thing in the book. But it does feel like they are maybe slowly allowing the likes of Stain and Burgess to get closer and closer and potentially benefit off the two of them being slower out on the circuit. But for now, Matt just kind of struggling to find a place where Porter will allow him to go alongside. On board, we dive through the difficult right-hander, kind of catches you off guard at how quick you can take it. And a little bit of lift-off oversteer always going to punish you in the rear-engined Porsches. A lot of curb being able to be used out there by Matches in through the first chicane. And trying to just see where we can get a bit of information out as to where those two are a little bit slower than one another, but it's not. It's a case of them just not having a place that they can get by. And Marcus Stain, I mean, if he is in a better position where his car is not being affected by the downforce as much, he's not really making it noticeable. It's almost the third lap that we followed them around, and he hasn't got to a point where he's right on the back end of Matches and putting Matches under pressure. And at the same time, Burgess is just kind of holding on to him a little car length behind. So these two themselves haven't really shown that their fixed cars are being hampered too much by these guys in front.
No, not really. But of course, we've established already that, overtaking in these cars isn't really that easy. And Jesperi Hilakalio, he has got Giacomo Peretti in his sights, the number 56. And, a bit slow, though, coming out of the chicane. That's going to give Ondrej Dedicek a bit of a chance here. Going to come down towards the second chicane, but Ondrej going to think better of it. And he's going to tuck back in behind the Italian. And, this circuit, not really famed for overtaking opportunities like some of the other circuits that we have here in ACC. But, of course, we do like to challenge the drivers around here, and that is why Zolder was added to the calendar. It is also a fantastic circuit to be on, but Marcus Stein now under a bit of pressure from Votech Burgess. And the 323 putting a bit of pressure on the 555. And like you said, George, it just seems to be a bit of a hold-up at the moment between these guys. They don't seem... they don't seem clearly quicker than the guys in ahead. You would think they would be, considering the cars don't have any damage, but not being able to showcase that right now.
No, exactly. It's a little bit of a strange situation, but I do think it's the fact that there's not a lot of top-end places that you are going to really feel that, okay, cool, the damage is going to be impactful for me, and they've just done a good job at managing out whatever grip levels are being handed to them with a potentially damaged aero package. So for the guys behind them, maybe risking themselves getting set into that danger zone of what happens when you just follow a driver for lap after lap after lap. You start to forget where you're faster, and you're just mimicking braking points and getting onto the accelerator where the car in front is, and you're not actually exploring for a potential to move through, and you get into that sort of tunnel vision zone. So you've got to be careful of that. You've got to keep pushing yourself, and maybe the nature of what Zolder is kind of discourages drivers from, maybe looking for that, because small mistakes are very costly, not very wide. But you can see it's all about the technicality. It's all about just making sure you've got the consistency, getting away from the stewarding books where you're going to get time penalties to be added onto your times. And of course, always the risk of, in these cars, getting onto the accelerator too quickly. You've got no traction control to govern yourself. So when you are in the heat of the moment and, the driver in front of you looks a little bit slower, it can be so tempting to just get onto the go pedal, and you find yourself facing the wrong direction very quickly.
Yeah, you've got to be so careful in this car. That applies to whether you're just hot lapping it or if you're racing it, and especially if you are racing it. And speaking of racing, Jan Matthias trying to close down Alessandro Porta, but Mike Noble, he's in a bit more of a hot lap session out here on his own at the moment, looking very good right now. And he's got a significant lead over Alexander Gulgia, 14.1 seconds, George. We're not even halfway through the race. So Mike Noble just setting those super consistent lap times at the moment. And, I think he's definitely going to be one of the favourites for the championship even before the season started. But we're going to have to hope that when Jarkko Torvinen and a couple of the other drivers that have had to sign out tonight come back, that they can put some entertainment on against Mike Noble for the rest of the championship. But Mike Noble doing exactly what he needs to do right now and making it look very easy, although I assure you it is not.
He's absolutely disgusting. He's murdering things out there, 14 seconds away from second place. And Mike Noble doing, like you said, Mike Noble things. For me, always an honor to watch this man drive around in one of these Porsche Cup cars. Was one of the drivers that from a very early time on was putting time into it. Even when, there were no Porsche Cup car races going down, he would often just kind of have some fun out with the car that no one was going to pick. This is going to be an on-track position battle. This will be David Gill in the number 80, fighting up against Sebastian Luigi Vita, I believe, in the number 22. Both of them have gone in and served their mandatory stops for this evening. So the next 30 minutes is a battle to see where they can find themselves out. They actually lead on the they are the leaders of the cars that have gone into the pits. Of course, that doesn't really indicate anything when you've got drivers up towards the front that have been just slaying away. So they're not likely going to just jump into pole position, is what I'm saying. As more drivers up towards the front go in, that will change up. Like you can see, Steyn now having served his pits in the 555. He will be the leading car that has got into the pit. So that all changes up. They just need to go in, serve that pit stop, get the little green box next to their name. And that means that they've done. Oh, Porter catches a little bit of that excited accelerated pedal on the exit. Now goes slowed down. Is this the opportunity? Goes defensive on the inside. Matches tries to go around, forces Porter to try and outbrake himself. But Porter reads better. Doesn't, breaks earlier, gets through. Great final chicane coming out from Porter, considering his exit out from the hairpin was so treacherous. Put himself at risk, but did a great job at showing us how to defend. And Jan Matthias, after chasing for what feels like most of the race, only sees the opportunity come and go very sadly.
Yeah, Jan Matthias had his opportunity to get past the likes of Alessandro Porta there, but unfortunately could not capitalize on it. Marcus Steyn, he's finished his mandatory pit stop, and so has Giacomo Peretti. He's just come out of the pit lane at the moment, dropping down the order, as you can see on the timing sheet. I think he'll drop down into about 16th place, I think it will be, for Giacomo Peretti. So he will be the newest driver that has successfully completed his mandatory pit stops, and he'll be the highest as well for the Racing Line Motorsport crew. Always good to see a couple of their cars out here. Of course, Giacomo Peretti, Alessandro Porta, and Daniele Flores all making their appearances here today, and they're the 3 drivers that were in the Porsche Cup the last time that you and I commentated on a Porsche Cup together, George. So it's really good to see the Racing Line Motorsport guys back. Not up at the front where we'd usually expect them to be, but of course, always nice to see these guys return. However, I get the feeling that Mikael Sundström starting to close down on 3rd place at the moment. Pascal Bobbert under a bit of pressure here from the Swede.
Mikael Sundström having a good race indeed in that black and gold at number 899. We've seen the 222 have some questionable exits with maybe managing his tires, so maybe Mikael Sundström going to find himself in a better position than Dedicek did. Dedicek, of course, followed along in this position for a long time before one small mistake coming up to that first chicane sent him off and put him down into 5th place, which it wasn't 5th at the time. He was down to like 10th, I believe it was, or 9th, I think. He came out just in front of top 10, but he's made his way back through the field. He's up into 5th place, and Sundström, having got through, is going to be onto the back of Bobbert. So interesting position that I think it was a back marker that just wanted to make sure that he had. So Bobbert into the pits, and back marker there just slowing down, letting Sundström get through on the start-finish straight. So I think, Ryan, I mean, that goes to show back markers here finding themselves in a situation where they don't feel entirely comfortable. There's not much places that you can adhere to blue flags, and having someone breathing down the back of your throat, one small mistake from you, there's not really a racing line to kind of pull off from here. It's just, you know, chicane, accelerate, chicane, accelerate, chicane, chicane, chicane.
Yeah, Zolder, definitely one of the more technical circuits. Obviously, we've mentioned those 3 chicanes that it already has implemented in the circuit, and makes it very, very difficult to navigate this circuit, especially if you're unfamiliar with it, and it makes racing on it very, very difficult as well. But it's always entertaining to see this circuit out, and Mikael Sundström will continue on his way. Panos Karatas, meanwhile, he's closing in on Peter Roche, and, well, we've seen this move a couple of times before at this part of the track, and he's missed his braking zone a couple of times before, but this time he won't miss his braking zone, and he's going to be right up the back end of the number 21 Porsche. It's taken, well, 35 minutes, and he still hasn't found a way past Peter Roche, George, and I'm starting to think to myself, will he ever find a way past Peter Roche? If he keeps going for those very, very kind of late lunges, maybe he'll get a chance to go past, but Peter Roche at the moment doing a fantastic job to just keep Karatas behind him.
Indeed, Peter Roche needs to just continue to, you know, make sure that he finds that defensive line. You can see that the 163 is starting to, you know, build up a little bit of momentum, try and look for a place around. Is this the change of position between Porter and Matthias? Side by side they go out through turns 2 and 3, and they'll remain side by side. Oh, Matthias just can't get the traction down, has to ease off to stop himself running wide off the circuit. That's going to allow Porter to stay up in front. So that little battle for that 10th spot does not change up, does get closer, and we potentially see something heating up. But small mistakes. Again, good run coming out from Matthias here. But coming up to the second chicane, not going to be a place that you can really try and get later on the brakes. Inside line always taken by the driver. Is a lot of that chicane. You try and negate it out by getting as much of a track cut as you can within limits, trying to avoid getting a track warning. And of course, at the start of the, at the start of the session, you got a little cone there that indicates where you can or can't go. That quickly disappears, and you then have to kind of do it by feel and by sight and just know where the line is. But definitely a lot of the inside of that second chicane can be used. Bit of a flatter curb compared to the first chicane. The second chicane here also nice and flat, does allow you to use a little bit, quite a aggressive anti-cut on the inside that steers you away from trying to take too much of it. But again, the first chicane is the brutal one here, a place that you can't really take too much curb. Thereafter, you're trying to just maximize the drive that you get out of it, and that means that there's not a lot of opportunities for you. Even if you get out of the drive on the exit of the first chicane, getting alongside there is dangerous for the second chicane.
It is, and it's going to be one of those things you're always aware of around this circuit, is that obviously all these corners leading into corners very, very quickly. We have, not really any long straights here at Zolder, and you've always got to be ready for the next corner immediately as you come out of the last one, and that means that if your line is compromised, then it's gonna punish you all the way down until you can get to one of those straights where you can sort of readjust yourself. And speaking of readjusting yourself, Karatas is readjusting himself for another move on Peter Roche. Nothing down into the final few corners. Was that Bart Matcher that just flew past them into the pit lane?
It is. I'm telling you, the pit lane here is caught to just catch people off guard. It makes you go, what's he done? But, oh, no, he's actually just gone into the pit box. And some, oh, my word moments. Very interesting pit entry. And, of course, it's that straight. And then you get into another chicane, of course, for the pit entry section of the pit box. So, Peter Roche at the moment doing a good job to keep Panos Karatas behind the number 163 from Team Panos. Attempts once again to find a kink in the armor. The number 21 in front has made sure that Karatas cannot get anywhere near making a move. He gets close enough to maybe see the very, very fine buildup of brake dust on the rear of his cup car, and then waves goodbye in the distance. But Karatas here, this is the drive that he needs. What can he do? Coming down, oh, he's gone too wide. He's touched the dirt. He's going to have to go into saving mode. Carries some speed through. Doesn't actually lose out as much as I thought he would. And actually has a great apex to the hairpin. Manages somehow to hold on to Roshi. Panos Karatas can count his lucky stars. Not many drivers come out through the second chicane, take so much dirt, and live to see another day, especially in cars that have no traction control.
Oh, heart and mouth moment. It wasn't just the grass, though, George. It was the fact that
the barrier?
He almost hit the wall as well.
Yeah, I mean,
my word.
That was coming at a fast rate. He was off on the grass, not on a grippy part, and did a good job to actually just ease off the throttle temporarily, point the car in the right direction, get back onto the black stuff, and manages to save out his lap, but has cost himself in the process. It wasn't there that he did lose it all out, but at this stage now, Roshi will know that, okay, cool. Got a bit of a breathing room now. Got 19 minutes on the clock. Let me try and keep this for as long as possible, and when he gets back onto the attack, I'm just going to go ultra defensive again.
Yeah, definitely, and it allows Peter Roche to breathe a bit. Meanwhile, Mike Noble still hasn't come into the pit lane, but to be honest, he hasn't really found a reason to, has he? He will have to at some point. But with 19 minutes remaining, Mike Noble in the FFS Racing Porsche, he's just having a nice Monday evening drive out there, isn't he? 24 seconds is almost the gap he's got to the likes of Alexander Kuglia.
Is my maths just bad, or was the last time we checked on that, it was only 14 seconds?
It was only 14 seconds, you are correct, the last time we looked at it. So it's gone up by 10.
That's nuts.
It's gone up by 10 in about 13 minutes.
I'm gonna throw another disgusting. This man here knows how to pedal around, and certainly going out and dominating so far. Of course, the race is not over till you get your car across the checkered flag, and there's still risks of underfueling, mistakes in the pit lane, speeding in the pits. and of course driver error that could come out. Not that I think that that's something that Mike Noble gets plagued with too often, but certainly some racing elements still at play. But Ryan, I couldn't be in a happier position after picking Mike Noble as my sort of pick of the day. It's not often that I get to sit in a place where my pick is running away with it at the front.
No, it isn't. It isn't too often that does happen, George. But
I'd like to say it's never happened. Almost.
But
I'd like to go as far as that.
I think it has happened before. I don't think I'll give you that one. But you know what? Mike Noble doing a stellar effort, as he always does, and leading out here at the front. And I'm pretty sure if Gergo Panker and Jarkko Torvinen are watching right now, they're thinking to themselves, well, we've got to show him who's boss when we come back. And Martin Lawrence as well, by the way, who's unfortunately had to sign out for this evening. He'll be back as well next week. So be good to have another one of the connection lost and the rest of the FFS racing team back in action. But here we have Andreas Keiferlein. Still got that 5-second penalty to serve when he comes into the pit lane. Daniele Flores, by the way, has got a 30-second penalty. That's actually 2 15-second penalties that he's picked up for collisions with 2 separate cars and not giving back the position. So Daniele Flores for the Racing Line Motorsport guys, unfortunately picking up a 30-second penalty for 2 separate incidents. And, well, all the way back at 23rd, I don't really think that penalty is going to have too much of an influence on his result. Come the end of the race, it hasn't really been the best result for him so far. But as we look at the number 40 going around as well, battles a bit scarce at the moment on track, it has to be said. I think the closest battle is probably Giacomo Peretti to Pascal Bobbert. I think there's about a 1.2 second gap between them, but everyone's kind of spaced out a bit here, George, haven't they?
They have. They, the start of the race was absolute chaos. We saw a couple of sort of trains starting to form up between a couple of drivers, but at this stage of the race, the technicality of Zolder starting to show some dividends out on the circuits, and as it stands now, there are certainly a lot of gaps in the field. So drivers still needing to serve up their mandatory stops, of course. Noble, Guglia, Sandstrom, Dedicek, Hilakilio, Keiferlein, Porter, Burgess, and Claessens all still need to go in and serve up their stops. But as you see here, Guglia, he is caught up behind a car that's actually just exited the pits. And, you know, it's, again, you're in a situation where you can't really give up a track position too easily to the blue flags that are waved out. And we saw Guglia just giving a little flash of the lights coming down for Karatas's pit exit. So maybe wasn't quite happy with the way that the driver exited the pits. Not an easy pit exit here at Zolder. You gotta just remember that you're kind of exiting onto the apex of the second right-hander. So it's a very, very difficult place to get out.
Well, Karatas actually, George, he's unfortunately picked up a drive-through penalty. And he's back into the pit lane. I think that might be a teleport back to pits. I'm not sure. Oh, no, he is driving into the pit lane. So Karatas, he's picked up a drive-through penalty, and I'm willing to bet that drive-through penalty is for speeding in the pit lane or for track limits. I didn't quite catch it, but I've got no notification from Fabian Schmidberger in the steward's box that is a penalty for collision. So Karatas either speeding in pit lane. Oh, and he's sped into the pit lane coming to serve his drive-through, and that's a stop-and-go 30 that's now been applied to the 163. Oh, and when your day gets, well, when your day's going bad, it just gets worse, doesn't it, George?
I mean, I feel bad for the guy. It's the worst feeling.
He has a drive-through for track limits as well.
Matches, drive-through, track limits. Like you said, Ryan, this is where actually this part of the track where these two drivers come through. This is where your your push to see where you can take that second chicane either pays dividends or hands you out a big F. And in this racing format, an F is usually symbolized by a DT, and a double F is then a stop go 30 really.
Double F. Well, Sebastian Luigi Vita, he's trying his hand at the moment at getting past the likes of David Gill. Finding no luck at the moment. And by the way, Mike Noble has come into the pit lane and served his mandatory pit stop. He's come out in 3rd place. So he'll be waiting for the likes of Mikhail Sundström and Alexander Guglia from the nearly on pace Porsches to box, and he'll retake the lead of the race. And I think Ondrej Dedicek is in the pit lane at the moment. Both Jan Matthias and Pastor Karatas coming in to serve their respective penalties, the drive-through and the stop-and-go 30. And, well, you know what, George? A stop-and-go 30 at any track is pretty harsh. But maybe, you know, you can look on the bright side of life and you can say, well, at least it's not Spa. You know, it could have been a much worse pit lane of the 2 Belgian tracks that we have here in ACC. But I'm pretty sure that little light of positivity probably won't cheer up Pastor Karatas or Jan Matthias too much.
I mean, if I was going to offer you any advice, I don't think you should send them a DM and be like, at least you didn't get it at Spa. Because I think they would block you immediately. They definitely are not going to be looking on the bright side of life at this stage. They're going to know that this has been a costly exercise. And it's all relative out there, really. The length of the pit lane is pretty much irrelevant, I suppose, Ryan. I mean, the only thing that gets annoying is the fact that you have to drive yourself out there. But with a pit lane that you have to drive on out and long pit stops, and it's just going to be, it's absolute disaster for your race to have it go that way. And it's normally for things that are in your control. So I think that makes it a little bit more frustrating. You know, the track limits thing, you can kind of think to yourself like, oh yeah, you know, it's a little bit frustrating. But, you know, a speeding in pit lane infringement is where you've just gotten way too eager to either get onto your limiter or get off it before you leave. And it absolutely sits with you. It's one of those things that you, if I'd done this better, or I'd not been so impatient, and it melts through. So, my feelings are definitely out there for the guys that have had to endure that, but it's part of racing, and it wouldn't be the pro splits if you weren't held accountable for pushing the limits and making mistakes that drivers make. In the bigger picture, Craig Claessens for ATK Racing in that 1-2-4 finds himself in the top 15. He's currently got the likes of Matt Samuel behind him in that 996. Pretty close indeed, almost that sub half a second gap for the interesting aero work to come out. And he's got the 323 of Burgess a little bit up the road that he's chasing down to try and see if he can potentially make his way up a couple of positions. 9 minutes left to go of racing. Ryan, closest cars on track are going to be the ones to keep an eye out for. And of course, it's the phase of the race where you just got to know that you got to take it home, and you're not yet in the green until you see that checkered flag.
Yeah, you're never in the green until the race is fully over. And Ondrej Dedicek here, chasing down Pascal Bobber. Going to see if he can throw himself up into 6th place, or 6th place provisionally at least. Of course, Alessandro Porter, if I can get the names out correctly tonight, will be dropping down once he comes to serve his mandatory pit stop. So Ondrej Dedicek looking to get back into the top 5 by overtaking the likes of Pascal Bobber, and I think Hilakalia was actually dropped down as well after his pit stop. So Ondrej Dedicek could be looking at 4th place potentially by the time he does get past Pascal Bobber, and just about 3 tenths behind So we come into the chicane. Whoa, nice over the chicane. But look at that. Look at how much better an exit Ondrej Dedicek has got than Pascal Bobbert. Bobbert was very, very touchy coming out of the chicane.
Zolder. This is Zolder. It's so hard to pass. A driver can make the biggest mistake in the world, and it all comes down to the racing line. And that was, I mean, that indicator right there. So much of that curb got taken by the 222, and Dedicek just had nowhere to go. Does a little drifty boy out of the hairpin. That's going to cost him a couple of hundreds. But he's got the slip from Bobbert in front, and he knows that he just has to hold it in the right place, force an error at this point, because he just cannot find a place to overtake.
Well, overtaking may be difficult here, but I'll tell you what, George, mistakes are definitely aplenty. And whilst we don't have any more penalties to report, there are definitely quite a few drivers picking up warnings here for collisions that they've had with a few guys. And I can actually see Ondrej Dedicek. He's got Giacomo Peretti in the background there, just 1.7 seconds away. You can just see him there in the background, looming ever closer, but Ondrej Dedicek not quite going to have the ability to get past Pascal Bobbert, and actually I think he's lost time coming out of the chicane.
That line that Dedicek just took through the chicane, he's lucky to have walked away with that.
That was a GT4 line.
That was a GT4 line, and like a whole remodeling of his floorboard of his cup car. So he's going to definitely be looking back at the books and going, well, that was probably not the line that I wanted to take at that phase of the race. Quade Claessens, he's got the flashing lights of Samuel behind him. They are going to go side by side into the braking zone. Lots of curb being forced out by Quade Claessens there. Samuel forcing him to go in through that very aggressive line. And after Samuel was side by side through the first chicane, couple car lengths behind thereafter, so hasn't quite managed to hold on to the same momentum that he had catching up to the ATK Racing number 124, but certainly still looking to try and get himself a little bit closer. Claessens here is right on the back of Wojtek Burgess, so potentially a little three-way battle coming out in the last 5 minutes. Always exciting to see. Porsche Cup cars, three-way car battle, pro split drivers. Rai as my commentator, co-commentator, and of course Stewie doing our beautiful camera work. It's a good place to spend a Monday night.
You like to get that Rai in at least once per stream, but Ondrej Dedicek, if we can switch back to him, he's going to have the opportunity here. You said you can't pass here, George. Ooh, bit of contact there, but you can get past here at Zolder.
You can.
Ondrej Dedicek has proven it right there and then. We're going to get an action replay here. Back marker, a bit involved there, but not really holding up the likes of Pascal Bobbert. And let's see what exactly happened here. It was a nut. Whoa! The GT line from Ondrej Dedicek.
Dedicek saving his track cut warning limits for the last lap to go. Well, I mean, I used the term before, just lick it and send it, and Dedicek there didn't even put a return delivery address on it.
I mean, I'm not sure if the stewards will have a look at. They might have a look at that for potentially track cut and overtaking a position. You'd probably have a fair argument for that.
But I mean, to me, like, those things are governed out by the sim. So if you've got a 3-cut warning limit, right, and that's the place that you've now used your first track warning limits, then the game is.
I think the issue though is that ACC doesn't punish you for overtaking off track. That is the problem.
But he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't off track at the time that he got the move done. He kind of just.
Well, no, he was in the air, so he technically wasn't on the track at all. But
I mean,
yeah, I think the stewards will look at it. I think
I would be
definitely
interested.
Be looked into.
I would be interested to see what the ruling on that would be, because as a a third party, just a commentator out here, I would think that track limits are something that they use from the sim, and it would be very interesting call to come out. Look
they
at
do
this.
for the
Look at
most
this
part.
though, right? While we talk about that, we've still got Burgess, Claessens, and Samuel starting to get into. I mean, they don't know that the race hasn't ended yet. They're starting their parade lap all close to each other like this. They're going to give us a real handful if things heat up. Matt Samuel, he just needs to play this calm run. He can. Oh. Burgess backs the pack up. Big mistake coming out. Claessen's response slows down. Samuel also has to go defensive, and the two chase cars don't benefit out of the mistake that Burgess made. Anywhere else, I'm telling you, those are types of mistakes that cost you positions. Here at Zolder, it's somewhere you can get away with it a lot more.
It definitely is, and Matt Samuel trying his best for FFS Racing as well to get onto the back of Quade Claessens. But the South African is not going to give up easily, is he? And closing in on the likes of Wojciech Burgess. Quade Claessens, of course, he actually won a race here at RCI not too long ago in the last Monday Championship, the McLaren Masters Cup.
McLaren, yeah, I remember.
At
You
Barcelona.
enjoyed that series.
Tormentous weather. It was absolutely horrible.
No, I'm that Claessens is getting more involved in a lot more of the series coming down, and especially these, manufacturer series or cup series, like we like to call them. Always good to see the guys in equal machinery and having to find the driver's skill limits. But Matcha, of course, up against the likes of Peter Roshi. They are now 1 minute away from rounding out these finishing positions, and Matcha less than 0.3 of a second behind and continually closing, finding tenths through the apex. He's got a little bit of slipstream to work with as well, and of course can figure out where he can go a little bit later onto the brakes. Needs to be careful though. We've seen drivers make this mistake in this position before, and just got to put yourself alongside if you can, or get a drive at least towards putting someone into a high pressure zone, force them to miss the braking points, and the work is done. Sounds rather simple. If it was simple like that, we'd have seen it been thrown out a couple more times here. Final lap for our leader, which means these guys will finish out this lap and a lap to go. So definitely not a lot of time for them to make up.
No, and Daniele Flores, well, he's going to try and get past Dustin Vust, but it'll be in a bit of vain, because that 30-second penalty means he's going to be right at the back regardless. That's the likes of Jonathan Bentz and Karatas are going to be ahead of him, I get the feeling, even after that penalty. And looking a bit further ahead, I think Quade Claessens having another go on Wojciech Burgess, and Mike Noble's actually right behind this little trio here. There you can see him in the back of the picture, and he's not going to want to get too involved in all of this, but he will definitely be keeping his nose clean, keeping an eye on, make sure he doesn't get caught up in all this, and he's obviously on the final lap of the race. But Quade Claessens, he's going to have a little bit of a go here. He's on the outside. Is he going to force the Porsche Cup car to make a mistake? He has, and he's clipped Samuel. Has he clipped the leader as well? No. Mike Noble's just kept out of it, but Matt Samuel's been turned around.
Whoa, that is not what you expected to come out. The pressure comes down. The infamous lack of traction control will strike. Noble avoids being taken out on the final lap, but will come in with a dominating victory and throws it out in the middle of the track. Definitely not going to be in the steward's good books for a celebration like that at the end of the race, and avoid some collision with some drivers. But it is his victory to come out. The likes of Matcha and Roshi, they're still on track and trying to fight it out. Matcha, this is his final chance to do something out through the second chicane. They will go. and it is now the chase up to the hairpin. The number 55 of Bart Matcher for the Connection Lost Racing team. Final time we saw what Klaasen's pulled here. Tries to carry some speed, can't extend it as Roche puts his car in the right place. And the number 21, Connection Lost Racing driver will defend. His P8 Guglia takes home second. Sundstrom finishes in third. Dedicek in fourth. Bobit fifth. Prioretti in sixth. Helicalio in seventh. Roshi in eighth. Matcha crosses the line there in ninth, of course. And Kefaline in 10th, rounding out the top 10 round. What a opening round. Oh, action right at the very end.
Yeah, right at the end, it was very touch and go, and I said that Mike Noble wouldn't want to get involved in that little group at the back there, and that's why he wouldn't have wanted to get involved, and he had to, keep himself on his toes to make sure he avoided all of that, but he will avoid all of that, and he will be the winner, and now, of course, the championship leader for the first round of the second season here of the RCI Porsche Cup at Zolder. And of course, not Pascal Bobbert. It was the timing sheet has changed into it now. And I was just being informed, sorry, as I was reading through that the stewards will be looking into Ondrej Dedicek's overtake after the race, George. So we do have confirmation that will be looked into by the stewards. But congratulations to the podium sitters and, of course, Mike Noble for taking home the win here today, George. But if you got any final thoughts for the race today before we say our goodbyes to everyone and we pack our bags as we'll be heading off to the likes of Hungaroring in just a week's time.
No, I think just in closing thoughts, quick one for me. Just I think a good showing from all our drivers. I think a fantastic opening round. And of course, the Porsche Cup Season 2, a battle of technical tracks. So looking forward to seeing some more driver limits being pushed in the races to come.
To everyone, we did have a couple of technical difficulties here tonight, but thank you all for sticking with us. Of course, it's been a bit of a stressful couple of days here at Racing Club International, but we'll be looking into everything and making sure that obviously we can try and avoid these kind of issues in the future. Big thank you to Race Department and of course AK Informatica as well. They help us keep everything running here, and of course Raceface and Next Level Racing. Do check them out as well if you're looking for some driver coaching or maybe some new sim gear as well. But from myself, from George Smith, from Stewie, our broadcaster in the box, and from all the stewards and everyone else here at RCI, thank you very much for watching tonight, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you guys on Wednesday for the GT4 Championship.